Okay, imagine you drop a track and it just blows up. It becomes a global anthem, the song that defines your generation. Now, what if I told you someone did that over 150 years ago? No internet, no streaming, nothing. And get this, his music actually helped build a country. Today we're diving into the story of the original superstar, Giuseppe Verdi.
So how does a kid from a small farm become this total musical legend? And not just any legend. We're talking about a guy whose songs secretly helped unite a whole country. I mean, it sounds like something out of a movie, right? A guy with zero advantages becomes world famous, and his name ends up being a secret code for a revolution. But nope, this is the real-life story of Giuseppe Verdi.
All right, so first up, from farm boy to prodigy, the origin story. Every legend has an origin story, right? Well, Verdi's doesn't start in some fancy music school or a rich family. To really get who he became, we got to go all the way back to the beginning. We're talking a tiny village and a kid with a huge dream. Okay, let's think of this like a video game. What are Verdi's starting stats? Well, he was born in 1813 in Italy. His family, farmers. So no wealth buff, no special advantages, definitely no cheat codes. His first passion, like his first skill unlock, was hearing the organ in his local church. That's what kicked off his main quest, moving to a nearby town for music lessons. And man, did he grind. He practiced for hours and hours, even when he had basically no money. And of course, like any good hero's journey, he had to face doubters. Even his teachers, who knew he had talent, were kind of like, we're not so sure he can make it as a pro. Seriously, they saw the potential, but doubted he could actually succeed. Just keep that in the back of your mind, because it makes what he does next absolutely incredible. Okay, next chapter. First hits and misses, finding his sound. So, Verdi's got the skills, he's put in the work, but now he's got to make a name for himself, right? And just like any creator trying to break through today, he had to figure out his own unique style. This was not an overnight success story. It was all about finding a sound, and believe me, there were some major wins and some epic fails.
So let's check out his early career playlist. His first big opera, Oberto, in 1839, that was a hit. Not a massive one, but it was a solid success. It put him on the map. But then, his next opera, Un giorno di Regno, was a total and complete flop. I mean, think about a YouTuber who has a video go viral, and then their very next one gets like 10 views. It was that bad. So bad, in fact, that it almost made him quit music forever. But here's the thing. While he was dealing with that huge professional failure, something was happening in his personal life that was a million times worse. And honestly, it was a blow that would have just completely broken most people. This is just crushing. Verdi was married to a woman named Margherita Baresi, and they had 2 young kids together. In a really short amount of time, both of his children got sick and died. And then his wife died too. He lost his entire family. He was completely alone, totally heartbroken, and was ready to give up music for good. But somehow, through all of that unimaginable pain, he found this new depth in his music. All that loss, all that grief, it became the fuel for the raw, powerful emotion you can literally hear in the masterpieces he wrote later. All right, next section. Crafting a masterpiece. The breakout hits. So instead of letting that darkness just swallow him whole, Verdi did something amazing. He channeled all of it into his music. And this is the moment he leveled up. Big time. This is where he stops being just a promising composer and becomes a true legend. This is where he starts dropping the masterpieces we still talk about today. Okay, quick time out for a key term. Aria. You're going to hear this word a lot with opera, but trust me, it's not complicated. An aria is basically the big solo moment. You know, think of it like the epic guitar solo in a rock song, or that emotional peak in a pop song where the singer just lets it all out. That's an aria. It's the main event. And let me tell you, Verdi became the king of the aria. Just look at his 1851 opera Rigoletto. The formula was brilliant. Step 1, take a super dark story about a court jester, betrayal, and revenge. Step 2, write an absolutely unforgettable, world-famous aria for it, La Donna e Mobile. You've probably heard it. Step 3, the result, a massive, kind of controversial hit that became a landmark of opera. The controversy, of course, just made even more people want to check it out. And he wasn't done. His next hit, La Traviata, was kind of like a movie that critics totally hate at first, but audiences absolutely love, and it ends up becoming a huge classic. The critics thought the story was way too shocking for the time, but the people, they couldn't get enough of it. Okay, moving on to the secret political superstar, more than a musician. So at this point, Verdi is a total household name. He's a musical celebrity. But his story is about to take this wild, unexpected turn, because his biggest stage wasn't actually a stage at all. It was the streets of Italy. He was about to become something he never, ever planned on, a political icon.
So you got to get the context here. At the time, Italy wasn't the single country we know today. It was all divided up into a bunch of different states, and a lot of them were controlled by foreign rulers. There was a huge movement growing where people were fighting to unite Italy and gain their freedom. And Verdi's music, with all its stories about fighting oppression and yearning for a homeland, well, it became the perfect soundtrack for that revolution. And this is where things get really, really clever. His name, it became a secret code for freedom. Seriously, the crowds at his operas weren't just cheering for the music anymore. They were using his name to send a secret message. Yeah, get this. It was basically the ultimate 19th century meme. People would shout Viva Verdi. Now, on the surface, it just looks like they're cheering for the composer, right? Long live Verdi. But it was a secret code. VERDI was an acronym that stood for Viva Vittorio Emanuele Re d'Italia, which means Long live Victor Emmanuel, King of Italy, the guy they wanted to lead a free, united Italy. They literally turned his name into a secret hashtag for the revolution. How cool is that? All right, next up, late career game changers. The legend evolves. So let's recap. He's a musical genius and a revolutionary icon. You would think, okay, maybe now's a good time to chill, maybe retire, right? Nope, not for Verdi. Even in his old age, he entered this whole new creative phase. He just kept evolving. I'm not kidding. He went into final boss mode. Check out this timeline. In 1871, when he's almost 60, he drops Aida, this epic blockbuster opera set in ancient Egypt. It's huge. Then in 1887, when he's in his 70s, he comes back with Otello, this dark, intense tragedy based on a Shakespeare play. And then for his grand finale, in 1893, when he's almost 80 years old, he writes Falstaff, a brilliant comedy, also from Shakespeare. The guy didn't just stick to what he was good at. He mastered every genre, right up until the very end. So, let's wrap this up. Why Verdi still matters. The legacy. Why are we still talking about a guy who died over 100 years ago? Well, his impact goes way, way beyond just writing some famous tunes. His lasting impact is just massive. I mean, look at this. A huge chunk of what opera houses perform today, like right now, is Verdi's work. It's part of the standard playbook. He's also a giant symbol of Italian culture itself. Of course, he inspired tons of future composers who came after him. But maybe the biggest piece of the pie is this. His music is all about timeless human emotions. Love, betrayal, loss, happiness, the stuff we all still go through. That's why it still connects. So if you remember just one thing from all of this, let it be this. Verdi's story proves that art can do so much more than just entertain us. It can tap into our deepest emotions, and sometimes it can even change the world. And that kind of leaves us with one last question to chew on. Who are the artists today whose work goes beyond just getting likes and streams? You know, whose music or movies or art is becoming the secret soundtrack for big ideas or social movements right now? Who do you think is the Verdi of our time?